Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister. We're in Bible study. We're in the NIV. We are wrapping up a chapter of the Bible. It's the fourth book of the Bible. Well, it's the fourth book of the Bible, but it's also there's only 5 books in the Bible that are from the Torah, so we only have one more after this. It's not a particularly long one. We also are going to see 2 different things in this chapter. We are going to, one, be able to get to a certain point and go, well, suppose this happens, and you're right, when we call that this. And then we'll continue, and we'll talk a little bit about science. So, the inheritance of Zelophehad's daughters. The family heads of clan of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, who were from the clans and the descendants of Joseph, came and spoke to Moses and the leaders, the heads of the Israelite families. They said, when the Lord commands my Lord to give the land, when the Lord commanded my Lord to give the land as an inheritance to the Israelites by lot, he ordered you to give our brother Zelophehad to his daughters. Now suppose they marry men from other Israelite tribes, and then their inheritance will be taken from our ancestral inheritance and added to that of the tribe they marry into. So that part of the inheritance allotted to us will be taken away from us. Yes, that would be true. A majority of the world's wars that go on between England and France, that would be way far in the future for this, or, from a lot of other European countries, quite frankly, is because the European, princesses and princes often only married from another country, another person who was a prince or a princess, because they couldn't marry their own siblings, so they went and married people over there. And if you do that often enough, what does that mean? It means every time, if it's a grandfather who dies, every one of those grandsons, regardless of what country they were raised in, now has a legitimate claim to that throne. Yeah, they're right. And it leads to a lot of war in Europe later on. When the year of Jubilee for the Israelite comes, their inheritance will be added to that of the tribe into which they marry, and their property will be taken from their tribal inheritance of our forefathers. Then, at the Lord's command, Moses gave this order to the Israelites. What the tribe of the descendants of Joseph is saying is right. This is what the Lord commands for Zelophehad's daughters. They may marry anyone they please as long as they marry within the tribal clan of their father. No inheritance in Israel is to pass from tribe to tribe. For every Israelite shall keep the tribal land inherited from his forefathers. Every daughter who inherits land in any Israelite tribe must marry someone in her father's tribal clan, so that every Israelite will possess the inheritance from his fathers. No inheritance may pass from tribe to tribe, for each Israelite tribe is to keep the land it inherits. So Zelophehad's daughters did as the Lord commanded Moses. Zelophehad's daughters, Mahlah, Mahlah, Tirzah, Tirzah, Hoglah, Hoglah, Milcah, Milcah, and Noah married their cousins on their father's side. They married within the clans of the descendants of Manasseh, son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in their father's clan. These are the commands and regulations the Lord gave through Moses to the Israelites from the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from the Jericho. So, here's the thing. If you engage in this behavior, as also eventually became true amongst all the royal families, because I understand why they might want to keep the land within the possession, but also what they just did is make this closed loop system. And this is why you can tell the Jewish genome, like the, well, Israeli, because at this point they're Israeli, but Jewish because after dysphoria, they only let them come back to one area, and eventually they become two different kingdoms. We'll get into that. That's coming. So stay with me through the rest of the year. We'll get to there. The genome, because it's only intermarrying within its own stuff, eventually, no matter how many people there are, even with 1 million people, eventually you're going to cycle through all those people, and that would be with intermarrying within tribes. And now they're not intermarrying within tribes. So now it's even smaller. And just as happened in England and Scotland and Ireland and a bunch of other places, when you can only marry people who are close to you, you eventually are related to everybody you could potentially marry. And that's not even good. That's not even gone. There's like an entire small town in Canada that if I were looking for a husband, I could not go there, because when we have a family reunion, the town shuts down. It's just not a very particularly big town, is all. So, you can get to that quickly, depending upon whether or not they were a big tribe or a small tribe. But it is part of what makes the Jewish genome distinguishable from the rest of the Middle Eastern genome. Because it had a lack of intermarrying. Because right now, yeah, it might just be this one family. But for how long? For how long? For how long? Because it means any woman in their tribe whose father leaves her any kind of property can't marry outside of her own family. And then eventually, it's what makes it distinguishable from that of, say, Syrian DNA, or more appropriately, Iraqi DNA, or Turkish DNA, because Abraham was Mesopotamian. We like to think of that as like, oh, Mesopotamian, they took over the Egyptians, that's Alexander the Great, they're Greek. Mesopotamia, old-timey word for Iraq, Turkey, was once one country. Mesopotamian, that they say where the red hair comes from in the first place for the in the Greek, or actually we're using Cleopatra, and it has red hair, was because she was Mesopotamian. That's Middle Eastern. We don't tend to think of it that way, but if you were to go look at it on a map in with your modern day brain, you'd be going, that's the Middle East. Yeah, it is. So this is what makes their genome distinguishable from others in the area, because they weren't intermarrying across borderlands all that much either. So they could tell even one tribe from another tribe. Until the next video, friends.